Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Scorpio for September 2016. Check out what's new on my blog on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Also, if you would love to hang out with me at a wonderful destination in my very first ever destination retreats, you can check out more information about that on my website. So in September, we've got big stuff going on. I'm calling the general theme for September Triad of Transformation. This is including these 3 major elements of the eclipses, Mercury retrograde, and the final square between Saturn and Neptune. That story has been going on for a year, and we reach our conclusion in the month of September. So we've got things that are specific for Scorpio that I want to talk about before I get into the general transits. I'm going to talk about how the eclipses will likely affect you individually as a Scorpio. Later on, I'm going to talk about the general implications of the eclipses, and both will be just as real. We have the signs that affect us, that the eclipses in the signs affect us all globally, and then we have the eclipses in the houses, and that brings it down more specific to our sign. So the solar eclipse energy is going to open up opportunities. Doors will fly open with the energy of your work, of your career, of your purpose, of your reason for being on the planet, your relationship with authority figures, turning into your own authority figure, solidifying that place in the world. So that's the story. It's the big opening there. And the place where we're having to shift some energy is in the home space. So a very likely story with many Scorpios is that more work will come in and you'll have to shuffle things around at home in order to step into it. There's also a way of looking at this polarity from the perspective of the lunar eclipse occurring in the emotional house. Scorpio energy is very emotional, and there's a lot that goes on in the quiet inside place, and sometimes there's a disconnect between getting that stuff from the emotional inner place into the outer realms. There's been a theme of this that Jupiter has been moving along for a while, and the eclipses are moving this theme forward, where it's time to take what's inside and convert it into what you're supposed to be bringing out into the world. And it's time to get a handle more disciplined with your emotional space and converting that power into your presentation, into what you're bringing out. So there might be some sacrifices that have to be made at home. It doesn't mean that this story is permanent. You will be able to, if you have to make a shift that seems like your work-life balance is going to get off in the favor of working more, it doesn't have to always be that way. But there looks like, from the way these eclipses are moving, that there are certain things that you just have to do more work, And for some of you, like I said, this might involve more emotional discipline. Now, for me, my definition of emotional discipline is not to stuff emotions, is not to pretend they're not there, is not to ignore them. It's to have processes or tools that utilize your being present with your emotions and converting that into authentic inner and outer movement. You've heard me talk about the Presence Process by Michael Brown. It's my all-time favorite tool for getting disciplined. It requires daily meditation. I feel like everyone who's on a path for conscious evolution, and even people who don't think they're on a path for conscious evolution, they just want to improve their lives, can benefit from meditating every day. We have spent so much time placing our anchor in something outside of ourselves, or something that's moving. It's like a moving target. But meditation helps you to build and anchor a strong grounding in yourself, in your connection with the divine. And from that strong, solid place, when you're trying to move in a world with ever-changing targets, you have that grounding within yourself. And it's so important for people who are so emotional to be able to have that grounding, that anchor. So hopefully this will be the time, this will give you the impetus to get disciplined with doing something every day that helps you to more fully show up for what you came here to do. So those are some ways that Scorpio specifically is being affected by the eclipses. And I'll go into more detail about the general implications that you will experience. I'm calling the month of September, the general theme of the month of September for all signs, the triad of transformation. There are 3 events occurring this month: the eclipses, Mercury retrograde, and the final Saturn-Neptune square, that each on their own have their own story and potentials for change. But when converging together, they bring just massive opportunities for alchemy. So I'm going to break these down into their sections. Eclipses are powerful astronomical and astrological events that occur twice a year. We call them the spring eclipses and the fall eclipses. Of course, if you're down under, that would be opposite. So this fall eclipse for you is your spring eclipse set. But in any case, the eclipses change trajectories. From the astrological standpoint, they change trajectories. So if you're hoping for or supposed to be doing something over here, but you're on this track, it jostles you sufficiently to move your trajectory. And so the amount of force that is necessary to take your path and change it is equal to the amount of force that the eclipses will come with. Sometimes there just needs to be a little adjustment. Sometimes there needs to be a major adjustment in the form of something very life-changing to get people on track. Sometimes the news comes with eclipses that is unwelcome. Sometimes it comes just as the best thing that you could ever hear, and sometimes these things happen both at the same time. Eclipses run in cycles, and the cycle that we're working on now is the Pisces-Virgo eclipse, the Pisces-Virgo polarity. This polarity started in the spring of 2015, or you could say the fall of 2015 for people down under. And the way that this works is the eclipse polarities run over a period of time. These run into spring of 2017. And there's a 4 to 6 month integration rate. So we'll say until almost the end of October of 2017 is when this full storyline is rolling out. So the eclipses work on a certain sector of your life. They work on the general sector for the signs, the Virgo Pisces, and then we talked about for your sign specific what the themes were for the houses. Now, the whole time that these eclipses are occurring, it's taking pieces, working on a project, and moving you along the continuum. So, on September 1st, we have the solar eclipse 9 degrees of Virgo. This eclipse is actually also squaring Saturn, which adds a little bit of a challenging edge to it. Then we have the lunar eclipse on September 16th at 24 degrees of Pisces, and that is conjunct Chiron, which is adding another intense element to it. Solar eclipses tend to bring in new energy. They're new portals of energy that are open. And with the energy of Virgo, this is coming in as new chances to work more efficiently, new chances to have more work if you needed work, or less work if you were working too much, or improvements in your work-life situation. They can also bring major radical changes to your health, to your diet, to your lifestyle. They can bring changes involving pets and animals in your relationship with pets and animals. So something new opening in those sectors. The lunar eclipse on September 16th at 24 degrees of Pisces is eclipsing something out. It's ending something, it's completing something, it's bringing something to fruition. The fact that it's conjunct Chiron is bringing this opportunity to end the victim mentality. And this is a huge one. This is part of the human condition that people who are consciously evolving are choosing to step out of. The victim mentality is the belief that life is happening to you, that there's nothing that you can do to make your life better, the quality of your experience better, and that people are doing things to you. And then that fits in with the guilt, blame, shame cycle, and that is the cycle of disempowerment. That's the cycle of the victim. Chiron, the asteroid that is conjunct this lunar eclipse, is all about the woundedness. It's called the wounded healer. So any places you're most wounded, and whether you believe in past lives and it comes from there, or whether it's from this lifetime only, it doesn't matter where it comes from. It matters that you have a deep woundedness, and maybe it's the collective consciousness woundedness that you're picking up. Maybe it's your own soul's woundedness, whatever it is. This lunar eclipse is giving a chance to eradicate woundedness, which is very exciting because we are completely limited by our belief that life is happening to us. By using astrology and other tools as opportunities for conscious evolution, improving the quality of your life, we can't control what's going to happen. There are things that are going to happen that are beyond our say, and things have their cycles, and that's the way things are in this plane. But at the same time, we have 100% control over how we see things, how we change our quality of experience. And you do this by ending the victim mentality, by looking inside of yourself for the answers instead of blaming someone or circumstances. So many of the things that will have an opportunity to end with the lunar eclipses have to do with addictions, fears. The 12th house, which rules Pisces, where this eclipse is in sign, has to do with your deepest fears, your deepest habits, your deepest negative conditioning. So ending something in that sector. There's also a theme from things being hit, from moving hidden things into the seen realms. Movement of Pisces over to Virgo is taking something from the unseen realm and putting it into the seen realm, from the thought or feeling section and putting it into manifestation, into form. There's also a theme from formlessness, abstract thoughts and ideas, to form. So it's a major, major manifestation portal to take things from here and bring them out here. So while all of this is going on, you may notice that if you follow storylines that have happened since the beginning of 2015, you're in process. And this is not the end of the cycle. We're still in process. So while it might seem like there's a definitive end to certain things, certain other things will take well into 2017 to really, really move to their integration. But we're at another important point here of that continuum. At the same time as the eclipses are occurring, we have Mercury retrograde. We hear about Mercury retrograde 3 to 4 times a year, and it can get, boring. We don't want to hear about Mercury retrograde anymore, maybe. But the fact that it's happening during the eclipse season is very, very strongly bringing up this story of the earthworm. I always think of the earthworm when I think about Mercury retrograde, because the earthworm just goes over old ground, and that's the theme totem animal in Ted Andrews' animal deck. I love Ted Andrews' work. And he talks about the earthworm working old ground, and that's what I think of when I think of retrogrades. So when Mercury retrograde comes up, which that went retrograde August 30th through September 21st or 22nd, depending on your time zone. And then the shadow periods stretched out, started about August 10th, and then stretch at the tail end until about October 7th. But once it's direct, every day that Mercury gets stronger, you'll feel it, and it's not until October 7th that it regains full strength, but it doesn't mean you can't take some action before then, because that's going to become an open window for taking action. This eclipse time of September is not the time to take action unless it is forced by the eclipses. If there's any way you can put off making your decisions, making your plans into the last week of September, at least if possible, then it's going to be a little bit easier for you. Because of the Mercury retrograde cycle, it lends itself to short-term arrangements. So let's say some news comes in from the eclipses and you have to do something different. You have to make an arrangement. Try to make those arrangements temporary. Something like a 6-month lease on a house, a 6-month contract, something month to month, or something that has some flexibility in what you're agreeing to, because the Mercury aspect of it tells us that some aspects of what's coming in may have a shorter shelf life and may still be in process. So you can see more about Mercury retrograde, the do's, the don'ts, and such by looking for my Mercury retrograde video. If you search for Annie Botticelli and put in Mercury retrograde, then you can find that there. So the third aspect of this triad of transformation is the final square between Saturn and Neptune. Saturn is the bringer of form, and Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, which is this unseen, hidden realm. So there's a big theme, and you're hearing it come in through the eclipses, you're hearing it come in through the Saturn-Neptune, of form versus formlessness, of, you know, the things that you can see and the things that you can't see. And for many people who are doing spiritual work, you can't see a lot of those things. They're not as tangible. But to those of us that dwell in those realms, they're just as real as the things that you can see in front of you. I always think of the idea of cell phones. Nobody ever questions, you know, looking at a cell phone and you're calling someone across the world. You can't see how that's going on. You can't see the cell phone beaming up to the satellite, you know, and whatever else that goes on there. You can't see it, but you trust that it's happening because you see that it's happening. You know, and there are many, 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 many things that we can't see that are real, that are totally real. And the journey of humanity into these lesser seen realms is part of this clash between Saturn and Neptune. It's telling the story of the battle of the seen and the unseen, the form and the formlessness, you know. So we started this square cycle November 2015. We had the second run in June of 2016, and now this is the final theme. So again, there could be a theme running here of creating a bridge. In my mind, neither one is right. The form and the formlessness, neither is right. They both are real and they both are valid. And so it's up to us to transcend. And we can transcend by building a bridge between the worlds, a bridge between the answers, leaving room for all of it to be right, and finding the ways where we can use all of it for our full multi-dimensional highest expression in this lifetime. So those are the three things that are going on. There's something else, and of course there are lesser aspects. You can always get more information about the lesser aspects that are going on that I don't mention in the horoscopes when you sign up for my free email newsletter. If you go to anniehelpsyou.com, on my front page you can sign up for my free email newsletter, and I write dates to notes and general themes, and I send that out a month before the month that it's talking about, so that you can see what good days, you know, for things for your planning purposes. Something else very noteworthy this month that I'm going to go into way more detail in October is Jupiter changing signs. It's moving into Libra, and so it's been expanding and bringing growth and opportunities in Jupiter for a year, and now it's going to bring mischief and miracles into the house or the sign of relationships. So I'm going to talk about how that will affect your sign specifically and more details about Jupiter next month, because we already had so much to focus on in September. So I hope that you have a wonderful month. If you're interested in learning astrology with me, there might be a few slots left in my astrology apprenticeship program. You can see that on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. I always have new blogs there all the time. I also have my Creating Successful Online Business course if you want to take your light work into the international realms and not be geographically tied. And I have my new Soul Connections destination retreats that are starting. So you can check out more information about my first retreat for this fall. And I hope that you have a wonderful month. I'll see you next month. Bye.